Imagine this. You're stranded in a foreign city with no money, no friends, and no way to communicate in the local language. The streets are unfamiliar, the sounds are overwhelming, and the sense of isolation is crushing. You feel a surge of panic, fear, and helplessness. As every moment amplifies your distress, the situation seems impossible to navigate, leaving you lost and desperate. Now imagine there's an easy philosophy that can transform this dire scenario into a path of empowerment and peace. Welcome to Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that equips you with the tools to thrive in even the most challenging circumstances. In this guide, we will explore how Stoicism can help you find serenity amidst chaos, turn obstacles into opportunities, and cultivate a resilient mindset that can withstand life's toughest tests. Stoicism isn't just a set of ideas, it's a practical way of life. By adopting its principles, you can learn to stay calm and composed in the face of adversity. Find joy and meaning in every experience, no matter how difficult. Transform challenges into valuable lessons for personal growth. This guide is your gateway to a more fulfilling, peaceful, and empowered life. Let's begin. Sometimes we can control things and sometimes we can't. Conception, choice, desire, aversion, and everything else that is ours are under our control. Everything that isn't our own is out of our control: our bodies, our land, our image, our jobs, and so on. Also, things we control are naturally free, unhindered, and unhindered things we don't control, on the other hand, are weak, obedient, easily harmed, and not ours. So keep in mind that you will be harmed, upset, and angry, and you will blame both gods and people. If you think that something that is naturally shackled is free, and something that is not yours is yours. If, on the other hand, you only think about what is yours and what is not yours as it really isn't yours, then no one will ever be able to force you to do something against your will. No one will ever be able to stop you. You won't blame or find fault with anyone. No one will be able to hurt you. Because there is no harm that can reach you, and you won't have an enemy. Because you have such big goals, remember that you will have to put in a lot of work to reach them. You will have to give up some things and put off others for now. But if you want these things along with office and money, you might not even get the money because you are also aiming for the office. You will definitely fail to get the office, which is the only thing that gives you freedom and happiness. So the first thing you should do is tell every negative external impression. You are an external impression and not at all what you seem to be. Then look at it and test it using these rules. The first and most important being whether the impression is about things we can control or things we can't, and be prepared to say, "It is nothing to me if the question relates to one of these things that is outside of our control." For you to remember that the promise of desire is getting what you want. It is the desire of distaste, not to fall into what is avoided. And it is unfortunate for someone to fail in their desire, while unfortunate things happen to someone who falls into what they would avoid. In that case, you will not fall into any of the things you're trying to avoid, if you only avoid the things that are not normal and the things you can control. But if you try to stay away from sickness, death, or hunger, bad things will happen to you. Therefore, stop being against things that are out of our control, and focus your dislike on things that are out of the ordinary that we can control. But for now, go ahead and get rid of your desire. If you want something that we can't control, you will definitely have bad luck. At the same time, you can't get any of the things we can control, even though you should want them, but only use choice and resistance, and only those two softly with doubts and without pressure. Remember to ask yourself, starting with the most basic things. What is its nature? If you'd like a jug, say "I like a jug," and you won't be upset when it breaks. Say to yourself that you are kissing a human being. Every time you kiss your child or wife, that way you won't be upset when it dies. When you are about to start working on purpose, in the same way that being lame is a problem for the leg, but not for the moral purpose. When bad things happen, tell yourself, you will find that the thing is getting in the way of something else, but not of yourself. Remember that you should act in real life like you would at a fancy dinner. If something is being passed around and it comes to you, politely put out your hand and take a piece. Do not hold on to it, it moves on. If it hasn't yet come to you, don't reflect your desire to meet it. Instead, wait for it to come to you. Be this way with your kids, your wife, your job, and your money. Then one day you'll be good enough to eat at the God's feasts. Don't take these things, even if they are put in front of you, instead hate them. Then you will not only share the God's feast but also their rule. Because they did this, people like Diogenes and Heraclitus were called holy, which was a proper title. When you see someone crying because he lost something or his child went on a trip, don't give the wrong idea that the person is going through something bad in the outside world. Right away though, keep this thought in mind. It's not what happened that bothers this man, it's how he feels about it. That bothers another. Don't be afraid to express your sympathy with words, and if the time comes, even groan with him, but be careful not to groan in the middle of who you are. Keep in mind that you are a player in a play and the author chooses your role. If he wants the play to be short, it is short. If he wants it to be long, it is long. Just remember to be good at being a beggar if he asks you to play that part. So whether you are an official or a regular person, it is your job to do a great job in the part that was given to you, but that Job was chosen by someone else. When a raven crows in a bad way, don't let the outside impressions get to you. Instead, make a distinction in your mind right away and tell yourself, none of these signs are for me. They're for my paltry body, my paltry estates, my paltry opinion, my children, or my wife. But for me, every sign is good if I so wish. No matter what happens, I can benefit from it. If you never compete in a game where winning is out of your control, you might be able to beat anyone. Watch out that when you see someone who is respected for their honor, powerful or well-known in some other way, you get caught up in the appearance and think they are happy. Because if we can control the true nature of good, then there is no room for envy or jealousy. You will not want to be a Preda senator or president, but a free man. I hate things that are out of our control. That's the only way to get there. Keep in mind that the guys who drag you or hit you are not insulting you. It is your opinion that is insulting them. So the next time someone irritates you, know that it was your own opinion that made you angry. Make it your first goal not to let the outside image affect you. Because if you can gain time and delay, you will more easily become the master of yourself. Keep death, exile, and everything else that seems awful in front of your eyes every day. Death will be the worst thing you think about. And you will never want anything more than that. If you want to study philosophy, you should know that you will be laughed at and told things like, look at him, all of a sudden he's a philosopher. Where did he get that highbrow? But don't you put on a highbrow and stick to the things that you think are best as a man. God put in this position. Remember that if you follow the same principles, people who used to make fun of you will eventually come to admire you. But if they beat you, you'll laugh at yourself twice. In the event that you ever turned to outside factors to make someone happy, know that you have lost your way in life. Thus, be happy with being a philosopher in every way. And if you want to be seen as one, prove to yourself that you are one. You will be able to do it. Don't let these thoughts bother you. I shall live without honor and be nobody anywhere. Because if not having honor is bad, then you can't be bad through someone else, just like you can't be bad through shame. Getting elected or being asked to a dinner party isn't your business, is it? Without a doubt not. Therefore, how is this any longer a lack of honor? Also, how come you will be unknown everywhere when you should only be known for the things you can control where you are, a man of the highest honor? But your friends will not have any help. What do you mean by not having any help? These people will not get chicken coins from you. And you will not make them Roman citizens who told you that these are things that we can control instead of things that other people do. And who can give someone something they don't have. Then get money, says a friend, so we can have it. To show me the way and I'll get it if I can make money while maintaining my integrity, loyalty, and high mind. You can see for yourself how unfair and careless you are. If you want others to have the bad things that belong to me, instead of the good things that belong to me, which would you really want, money or a friend who is loyal and respects your own worth? So please help me reach this goal, and don't make me do things that will make me lose these traits. Has someone been praised more than you at a dinner party? When you spoke? Or when you were asked for advice? You should be glad that he got these things if they are good, but if they are bad, don't worry that you didn't get them. Keep in mind that you can't be considered deserving of an equal share with others if you don't act the same way they do to get things that are out of our control. Why? How can a man who doesn't knock on other men's doors have the same amount of shares as a man who does for the man who doesn't go on guard duty with the man who does and prays with the man who does? So you will be unfair and greedy if you don't want to pay the price that these things are worth but still want to get them for free? How much do heads of greens cost? A no ball maybe? Let's say someone gives up their no ball and gets their heads of lettuce. If you don't give up your no ball and don't get your heads of lettuce, don't think you're worse off than the person who gets his letters. They say they'll have their letters, and you still have your no ball, which you haven't given away. Now it's the same in real life too. Someone hasn't asked you to their dinner party? Of course not, since you didn't tell the host how much his dinner costs. People buy it from him because he wants praise and attention. Give him the price that it's sold for if that's what you want. But if you want both to get the other thing and not give up the first thing, you are greedy and stupid. So do you have anything else planned for dinner? Yes, you have. You didn't have to praise the person you didn't want to praise, and you didn't have to put up with his rude doorkeepers. In the same way that a mark isn't put there to be misid, evil doesn't just appear in the world. Anybody who met you would be angry if someone gave their body to them, but that you give your mind to anyone who comes along, so that if he shows you it is shook up and angry. Don't you feel bad about that? Before you do anything, you should think about what comes first and what comes after. Only then should you do the thing itself. Otherwise, you will be excited about it at first, because you haven't thought about any of the steps that will follow. But when things get hard later, you will give up in a shameful way. Do you want to win an Olympic medal by the gods? I agree, because it's a good thing. And then think about the things that come before and after that. Only then should you start working on the job. You must obey the rules. Stick to a strict diet, give up sweets, and train at set times. Whether it's hot or cold, whether you shouldn't drink wine or cold water whenever you want, you should have given your teacher your full attention, just like you would a doctor. Then during the competition, you have to get down on the ground next to your opponent and get hit, dislocate your wrist, hurt your ankle, swallow a lot of sand, and sometimes get whipped. Have you thought about all of these things? If so, then you can go ahead and play the games. If not, you'll be going backwards, like kids. They act out plays, play fighters and gladiators. Sometimes they blow horns and then act out to play. You are now an athlete, a warrior, a rhetorician, and a philosopher. Still, you copy everything you see with all your heart. Just like an ape, and you get interested in new things all the time. Because you've never gone after something carefully or after thinking about it thoroughly. You've always done it without much thought or care. In the same way, some people want to be philosophers after seeing one and hearing him talk like Euphrates, though who else could speak like him, man? First think about what the business is about, and then learn how to do it. Should you be able to handle it? Would you rather be a pentathlete or a wrestler? Take a look at your legs, arms, and loins. One man is naturally good at one thing, and another is naturally good at something else. Do you think you can continue to eat and drink the way you do now, giving in to desire and anger? You have to keep watch, work hard, leave your own people be looked down upon by a poultry slave, make fun of by everyone you meet, and get the worst of it in honor office caught, and every poultry matter. Take a close look at these problems. If you are ready to give up these things in order to find peace, freedom, and calm, then don't bother with philosophy. Do not behave like a kid, first as a scholar, then as a tax collector, then as a rhetorician, and finally, as Caesar's procurator. These do not go with each other. You can only be one person, good or bad. You need to work on either your own ruling idea or the outside world. You can work hard on yourself or on the outside world. In other words, act like either a philosopher or a stranger. Most of the time, Our social relationships tell us what our responsibilities are. He is like a father. You should take care of him. Obey him in everything and give in when he shows or hits you. But he's not a good father. Did nature then bring you together with a good father? Not at all. Just with a dad. My brother hurts me. So keep your relationship with him the same, and don't think about what he is doing. Instead, think about what you need to do to be morally in harmony with nature. You will only be hurt when you think you are hurt in this way. No one will hurt you without your permission. So if you make it a habit to look at your social relationships with people, you will know what role to expect from your neighbor, your citizen, or your military officer. I want you to know that the most important thing for being religious to the gods is to believe that they exist and are running the universe in a fair and good way, and to have decided to obey them and accept everything that happens, believing that the highest intelligence is carrying out your plan. Because if you act this way, you will never say that the gods were wrong for ignoring you, but you can only get this result if you take your idea of what is good and bad out of things. We can't control and put it only in things we can, because if you believe any of those things to be good or bad, then when you fail to get what you want and fall into what you don't want, you will automatically blame and hate the people who cause these things. Because it's in the nature of all living things to avoid and turn away from things that seem dangerous and everything that makes them, and to seek out and admire things that seem helpful and everything that makes them. So a man who believes he is being heard cannot enjoy what he believes is hurting him, just as he cannot enjoy being hurt itself. So even a son will hate a father who doesn't let him be a part of the things that seem like they should be good. This is what turned Polynesians and Etocles against each other. They both thought that royal power was a good thing. That's why the farmer, the sailor, the trader, and people who have lost their wives and children hate the gods. Men's faith is based on where they are interested. So someone who is careful to use desire and fear the way they should is also careful about their faith. Nevertheless, it is always proper to offer libations and offerings and give the first fruits just like our ancestors did. We should do this with purity, not carelessly or sloppily, nor rudely, nor beyond our means. When you go to a diviner for help, remember that you don't know what the problem is going to be. You're there to find out. But if you are a philosopher, you will know when you get there what it is. Being unable to control something means that what will happen can't be either good or bad. Therefore, do not approach the diviner with fear or desire. But once you've decided that no matter what the problem is, it doesn't matter to you, you can use it for good, and no one will stop you. You can make up your mind. Finally, when you get some advice, remember who you trusted as advisors and who you will not listen to if you don't follow through, but use divination the way Socrates thought people should. That is, when the whole question has to do with the outcome. And there are no other ways to find out the answer through reason or any other technical skill. Because of this, don't ask the seer if you should share the danger of a friend or your country when it is your job to do so. If the CEA tells you that the signs of the offering have been bad, it is clear that you will die, get hurt, or be sent away on a journey. But even though there is a risk, you should still stand by your friend and share the risk with your country. Because of this, pay attention to the wiser Pythian Apollo, who kicked out of his temple the person who didn't help his friend who was being killed. Start by giving yourself a certain stamp and type of character that you should stick to whether you're by yourself or with other people. Also, try to be quiet most of the time, or say only the most important things in short, but infrequent phrases. And if the situation calls for it, do talk. But don't talk about normal things. Do not talk about gladiators, horse races, sports, food or drinks, or anything else that comes up on Holocaust. Most importantly, do not talk about people whether you are criticizing, supporting, or comparing them. If you can, by your own talk, bring over that of your friends. That's the right thing to do. But if you're left alone with aliens, be quiet. Be quiet and don't laugh a lot or at a lot of different things. Try not to take a promise at all if you can. But if that's not possible, refuse as much as you can. You should stay away from entertainments put on by outsiders and people who don't know much about philosophy. If the chance comes up to go to one, be careful not to act like these people. Because if a hand's companion is dirty, the person who stays close to him must get some of that dirt, even if he is clean himself. Take only as much as you need when it comes to body-related things. I mean things like food, drink, clothes, a place to live, and house servants, but cut down anything that is just for show or luxury. Before you get married, try to keep your sex life as pure as possible. And if you do partake, only do what the law allows. You shouldn't offend or limit people who do indulge, though, and you shouldn't talk a lot about the fact that you don't indulge yourself. If someone says that someone is talking badly about you, don't defend yourself against what was said. Instead say, "Yes, indeed," because he didn't know the rest of the faults that attached to me. If he had, these would not have been the only ones he mentioned. Most of the time, you don't need to go to public shows, but if the chance comes up, show that your main concern is for yourself only, which means we only want that to happen. For that kind of action shows that you found the show impressive. Do not rush or easily go to other people's public readings. When you do go, though, keep your own honor and respect, and be careful not to make yourself unpleasant. When you are about to meet a certain person, especially a man you respect a lot, ask yourself, what would Socrates or Zeno have done in this situation? This will help you make the most of the situation. When you go to see one of those powerful men, tell yourself that he won't be at home, that the door will be slammed in your face, and that he won't pay any attention to you. What if you still have to go? So take what comes your way and never tell yourself it wasn't worth all the trouble. That's how an outsider or someone who is annoyed by outside things thinks it is not as enjoyable for other people to hear about your travels as it is for you to call to mind your own dangers. So try to avoid talking too much or too briefly about your own actions or dangers. Also, don't laugh out loud. This is a behavior that can easily turn rude and is also meant to make your neighbors dislike you more. Also, using bad words is dangerous. So when something like this happens, if the time is right, go so far as to reprimand the person who did something wrong. As long as the chance doesn't come up, however, show that you don't like what was said by remaining quiet and blushing and frowning. When you feel pleasure from the outside, be careful not to let it take over, just like when you feel any other kind of impression. Not at all. Let the matter wait until you have time to think about it. Now think about the 2 times the time when you will enjoy your pleasure, and the time when after the pleasure is over, you will feel bad about yourself and repent, and compare that to how happy and satisfied you will be if you don't do it during these 2 times. But if you think the time is right to do the deed, be careful not to let its sweetness, allure, and temptation take over. Instead, think about how much better it is to know that you beat it. Never try to hide the fact that you are doing something that you have made up your mind should be done, even if the majority of people will not like it. You should not do what you are doing, though, if you know it is wrong. But if it's right, why be afraid of people who will correct you wrongly? It is day and it is night have meaning when they are apart, but they have no meaning when they are together. Similarly, taking the bigger portion at dinner may be good for your body, but it's not good for maintaining good social feelings. Therefore, when you are eating with someone else, remember to respect both the food that is in front of you and the person who is feeding you. Doing a path that you can't do well makes you look bad in that role and makes you forget about the role that you could have done well in that one. Be careful not to hurt your ruling principle, in the same way that you are careful not to step on a nail or sprain your ankle, and we will feel safer going about it. If we follow this rule in everything we do, the foot is a measure for a shoe and so is a man's body. Then if you follow this rule, you will keep the right measure. For those who go past it, however, they will unavoidably fall off a cliff. Finally, just like with your shoe, if you go past the foot, you get a golden shoe, then a purple shoe, and finally an embroidery shoe. Because there is no limit once you go past the measure. Once a girl turns 14, guys treat her like a cold lady. So when they realize that all they have going for them is being with guys, they start to take care of their looks and put all their dreams in that. So it's important for us to make sure they know that they are only praised for looking humble and self-respecting. An indication of a guy who is given by a lady is that he spends a lot of time on his body, such as working out, eating, drinking, going to the bathroom, and sex. But these things are only done briefly. Your full attention should be on the mind. If someone talks badly about you or treats you badly, remember that he is doing it because he thinks it is his duty to do so. So he can't follow what seems good to you and what seems good to him. So, if someone gets the wrong idea about something, the person who suffers is the one who was tricked. Because if someone thinks a true composite decision is wrong, it is the person who was fooled who should suffer. So if you start from this point of view, you will be kind to the person who is mean to you. In each case, you should say he thought that way about it. There are two handles on everything. One should be used to carry it and the other shouldn't. If your brother does you wrong, don't take the case by the handle of the wrong he is doing or by any other handle that should not be used. Instead, say that he is your brother and that you grew up together by the other name. Once you have that, you will grab the thing by the handle. It should be carried by, I am richer than you are therefore. I am superior to you, or I am more eloquent than you are therefore. I am superior to you. The better conclusions are, I am richer than you are. Therefore my property is superior to yours, or I am more eloquent than you are. Therefore my elocution is superior to yours. But you are neither property nor elocution. Do not say that someone bathes badly instead. Say that he is in a hurry. If someone drinks a lot of wine, don't say that they drink badly. Just say that they drink a lot, because you can't be sure that what he is doing is bad until you know what makes him act that way. So what will happen in the end is not that you have strong sense feelings of some things, but that you agree with others. Remember that you should never call yourself a philosopher, and should usually stick to talking about your philosophical principles with other people. Instead, do what your principles tell you to do. In other words, don't tell people how to eat at our feasts. Instead, eat like a man. It's important to remember that Socrates got rid of the idea of ostentation so totally that people came to him to meet philosophers. He used to bring them along because he was so good at letting himself be forgotten. If someone from the outside starts talking about a philosophical concept, you should stay quiet, because there is a good chance that you will throw up right away what you haven't eaten, as long as you don't get hurt. When someone says you don't know anything, you can be sure that you are making progress on the task you set out to do. Sheep don't bring their food to the shepherd to show him how much they've eaten. Instead, they digest it inside their bodies and make woolen milk on the outside. As a result, you don't show off your philosophical principles to the general public. They should see what happens when these principles are put into practice, though. Once you're used to living simply in terms of your body's needs, don't brag about it. The same goes for saying that you drink water. Don't always say that you drink water. For those who want to improve their physical stamina, it is best to do the work alone away from other people. However, if you are really thirsty, do not wrap your arms around statues. Instead, drink some cold water and then spit it out without telling anyone. That's how a layperson acts and thinks he never looks for help or harm within himself, but only outside sources. This is the philosopher's point of view. He gets all of his good or bad things from himself. Criticism, praise, blame, and finding fault with no one are all signs of progress. Someone who is making progress also doesn't talk about himself as if he was someone or knew something. He blames himself when things get in the way of him. Whenever someone says something nice about him, he smiles to himself. But if someone criticizes him, he doesn't say anything to defend himself. He moves around like he's sick, being careful not to hurt any part that's getting better before it's fully healed. Every desire he had has been taken away from him. Man has turned his dislike only towards things that are within his control and go against nature. In terms of anything, he doesn't make a clear choice. There's no harm in making him look like he's stupid or unaware. To put it another way, he watches out for himself as if he were an enemy waiting for him. When someone brags that he can understand and analyze Cruciferus his books, tell yourself if Cruciferus hadn't written so poorly, this person would have nothing to brag about. But what do I want to learn to be like nature and follow her? Because of this, I need someone to translate her. And I've heard that Cruciferus can do it. So I go to him, but I don't get what he wrote. So I'm looking for the person who can translate Christopher's, And up until now, there was no reason to be proud. But once I find the translator, all that's left is to follow his advice. There is only one thing to be proud of. But if I like the act of interpreting itself, what have I done? I've become a language expert instead of a philosopher. In fact, the only change is that I read Christopher's instead of Homer's. So when someone tells me read Mitra Civis, I blush instead of being happy. The rather when I can't show him actions that match and fit with what he says. No matter what principles are set before you, you must follow them like rules, thinking it would be immoral for you to break them. Don't care about what other people say about you, though, because you can't control this anymore. How long are you going to wait to believe that you deserve the best things and that there is nothing you can do to break the rules set by the reason you were given? It is the logical principles that you should accept. And you have. So what kind of teacher are you still waiting for? That you shouldn't change until he gets there. You can't do that anymore because you're an adult man. Now, without noticing it, you won't make any progress if you are careless and laid back, always putting things off, and promise yourself one day after another that you will pay attention to yourself. On the other hand, living and dying will always be an amateur. So make up your minds right now, before it ends. What you should do is live your life like a grown man who is making progress. Everything that you think is best should be a rule for you that you must not break. And if you come across something hard or easy, sweet or not well known, remember that this is the race and these are the Olympic Games, and that there is no more time to waste, and that there is just one day and one deed that can either lose or gain success. This is how Socrates became the person he was. He paid attention to nothing but his reason in everything he did. If you want to be a Socrates, you should live like you are one, even if you are not one yet. The application of the principles constitutes the first and most important divide in philosophy. For instance, don't lie. The second one is about the protests and so on. Why is it that we should not lie? The third confirms these processes and tells them apart, such as, how is it that this is a proof for what is a proof? We should discipline ourselves in small things and from these progress to things of greater value. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, and to mistrust the future. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. When force of circumstance upsets your equanimity, lose no time in recovering your self-control, and do not remain out of tune longer than you can help. Habitual recurrence to the harmony will increase your mastery of it. Remember that you ought to behave in life as you would at a banquet. As something is being passed around, it comes to you. Stretch out your hand, take a portion of it politely. It passes on, do not detain it. Or it has not come to you yet. Do not project your desire to meet it, but wait until it comes in front of you. So act toward children, so toward a wife, so toward office, so toward wealth. No greater thing is created suddenly any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. The heart is great, which shows moderation in the midst of prosperity. Our life should observe a happy medium between the ways of a sage and the ways of the world at large. All men should admire it, but they should understand it also. Who does not admit that all the emotions flow, as it were, from a certain natural source? We are endowed by nature with an interest in our own well-being, but this very interest, when overindulged, becomes a vice. Nature has intermingled pleasure with necessary things, not in order that we should seek pleasure, but in order that the addition of pleasure may make the indispensable means of existence attractive to our eyes. Should it claim rights of its own, it is luxury. Let us therefore resist these faults when they are demanding entrance, because, as I have said, it is easier to deny them admittance than to make them depart. Be ready for the unexpected. 2. Stop worrying about things you can't control. 3. Keep calm in chaos. 4. Be happy with what you have. 5. Accept everything that happens. 6. Talk less, listen more. 7. Do not fear death. 8. You become like the things you consume. 9. If it matters, If it worth doing, do it now. 10. Your opinions are your problems. Self-control quotes. 11. You don't control what happens, you control how you respond. 12. Seek out challenges. Do one thing every day that scares you. 13. Don't suffer imagined troubles. 14. Seeing things objectively, withdrawing judgments from them is really important. We have the power to have no opinion. 15. Evaluate yourself. Interrogate yourself. That's how you get better. 16. Ask yourself, every moment is this essential? When you eliminate what's inessential, you get the double benefit of doing the essential things better. 17. Life is short. Don't waste time. Going through our life with a clear sense of our mortality is essential. 18. Almost all the things you want are accidental byproducts of habits, processes, systems, routines. 19. Say less than necessary. 20. When someone finds inner peace, they find introduction. The importance of self-control in Stoicism. Quotes from Marcus Aurelius on self-control. Quotes from Epictetus on self-control. Quotes from Seneca on self-control. Quotes from Musonius Rufus on self-control Stoic. Quotes on discipline and habits. Quotes from other philosophers on self-control. The role of self-discipline in success. Conclusion. The role of self-control in Stoicism. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, has long emphasized the importance of self-control in leading a virtuous and happy life. In this article, we will explore the teachings of prominent Stoic philosophers and their quotes on self-control. From Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus, Seneca to Musonius Rufus, we will delve into their wisdom and insights on mastering our thoughts and actions. Additionally, we will examine the role of self-discipline in achieving success and the impact it has on our overall well-being. By understanding and implementing the principles of self-control, we can navigate life's challenges with grace and live in accordance with our highest values, harmony with the world around them. 1. The importance of self-control in Stoicism. Stoicism, a philosophy that originated in ancient Greece, places great emphasis on self-control as a means to overcome destructive emotions and lead a virtuous life. The Stoics believed that by developing fortitude and self-control, we can free ourselves from the sway of external circumstances and take charge of our thoughts and actions. It is through this process that we can cultivate a sense of inner harmony and live in alignment with our true nature. 2. Quotes from Marcus Aurelius on self-control. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, left behind a collection of personal writings known as Meditations. In these writings, he reflects on the importance of self-control and its impact on our daily lives. His quotes serve as a guide for practicing self-discipline and maintaining a balanced mindset. For example, Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This quote emphasizes the importance of focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts and actions, rather than being consumed by external circumstances. 3. Quotes from Epictetus on self-control. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, emphasized that all external events are beyond our control. Instead, he taught that we are responsible for our thoughts, mindset, and actions. Through rigorous self-discipline, we can examine and control these aspects of our lives. Epictetus believed that true freedom comes from controlling our desires and emotions. One of his well-known quotes states, "Freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire." This quote highlights the Stoic notion that true liberation lies in mastering ourselves and detaching our well-being from external influences. 4. Quotes from Seneca on self-control. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively on various aspects of self-control. He recognized the detrimental effects of uncontrolled anger and the importance of practicing moderation. Seneca's quote, "He who cannot establish dominion over himself will have no dominion over others," emphasizes the pivotal role of self-mastery in personal growth and leadership. He believed that self-control is a pathway to freedom and a virtuous life. 5. Quotes from Musonius Rufus on self-control. Although often overlooked, Musonius Rufus offers valuable insights on self-control and discipline. His philosophy was shaped by his personal experiences, including periods of exile. Rufus believed that hardship strengthens the soul and that through self-control, we can lead a more vigorous and fulfilling life. His quotes emphasize the importance of self-discipline in maintaining good health, overcoming vices, and pursuing personal excellence. 6. Stoic quotes on discipline and habits. Stoicism teaches that self-control and discipline are not innate traits, but rather habits we can nurture through conscious effort. By developing a daily routine of mindful actions, we can build new habits that lead to a more pleasant and virtuous life. Stoic quotes on discipline and habits remind us of the power of consistency and self-discipline in achieving our goals. As Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. 7. Quotes from other philosophers on self-control. In addition to Stoic philosophers, other great thinkers throughout history have emphasized the importance of self-control. From Buddha and Gandhi to Jim Rohn and Emerson, their quotes further inspire us to cultivate self-discipline and restraint. These insights offer a broader perspective on the universal value of self-control in leading a purposeful and fulfilling life. 8. The role of self-discipline in success. Self-discipline plays a vital role in achieving success in various aspects of life. Whether it is personal goals, professional aspirations, or maintaining healthy habits, self-control is the driving force behind consistent progress. This section explores the relationship between self-discipline and success, highlighting the fundamental role that discipline plays in accomplishing our goals and realizing our full potential. 8. The role of self-discipline in success. Self-discipline plays a vital role in achieving success in various aspects of life. Whether it is personal goals, professional aspirations, or maintaining healthy habits, self-control is the driving force behind consistent progress. This section explores the relationship between self-discipline and success, highlighting the fundamental role that discipline plays in accomplishing our goals and realizing our full potential. 9. Conclusion. In conclusion, self-control is a fundamental principle of Stoicism, offering guidance on navigating life's challenges and living in accordance with our highest values. Through the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and Musonius Rufus, we learn the importance of mastering our thoughts and actions. By developing self-discipline and cultivating empowering habits, we can lead a more purposeful, virtuous, and successful life. The quotes and insights shared in this article serve as reminders to prioritize self-control and the role it plays in our overall well-being.